Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. This is Orphan Last, and this is your training wheels for drawing in perspective. Now, I was thinking about teaching how to draw in two-point perspective in this video, but I've already actually tried to record a video like that. But it actually really aggravated me, and it made it just difficult to teach. And if it's difficult for me to teach, then it's going to be difficult to learn. So basically what I've done is I've created a perspective grid here, and I created it just like the last perspective training wheels video. And if you haven't seen that video, then it's going to be a link right here in the upper right corner where you can go ahead and watch that first video. You should watch these videos in order. Otherwise the video is just going to be so long that no one's ever going to watch it. So here I've gone ahead and created a pixel layer, and I'm able to just draw black. Okay, but let me go ahead and show you something cool. This really helps when sketching, and you can do this with Krita, you can do this with Affinity Photo, Affinity Designer, and you can do this with Photoshop as well. Currently I'm using Affinity Photo. In the last video I was using Affinity Designer, but yeah, all of this is possible in most software out there. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to the adjustment layers, and I'm going to click here and go gradient map. Now the only thing that you need to pay attention to when you're sketching is this circle right here to the very left, and it's usually appearing as red by default, and you can see that it's starting to affect everything in the scene. The green still appears green, but that's because of how red and green interact with one another, okay? But like the purple lines have changed color to being more greenish now, and the horizon line has changed to being red now. But ultimately, here's something that's kind of cool. If I select this circle to the very left and I start kind of moving through the colors, I can actually change the color of my brush, even though I drew it with black. And not only can I change colors, but I can change its saturation and I can change its value, which is really useful. This is something that I've only started to do pretty recently. In the past I've used the channel mixer, and it's not as versatile as this. So I'm going to just leave it at being red, and I'm just going to close out of this, and you see that I have this gradient map layer. Now if I go ahead and I drag it down so that the line goes all the way through the layers panel, it just moves it down. But if I grab this adjustment layer and I grab it so that it's more like staggered like this, then I throw it into this layer right here, this pixel layer, and I'm going to name that pixel layer red. So this is really useful so that when I create my sketch layer, let me go ahead and do that right now, okay, I'm able to just draw with black and then switch over to my red layer and switch to red, and I don't have to mess with all of these colors. I don't have to have multiple clicks every time that I need to change colors. It's like drawing with a coloring pencil. It's very useful and very quick. Now what I taught in the last video is if you draw a rectangle or a square or whatever, and you drag all four corners just a little bit towards the vanishing point, and then draw out another square or rectangle, you're able to come out with something that looks like a transparent three-dimensional box of some sort, and that's really useful. I also mentioned that, let me go ahead and create a new layer here and call it blue. Go to adjustment layer, gradient, change this left section to being blue, close out of it, and get it parented into the blue layer. And I also mentioned that if you were to find center on this top face here by drawing out an X that goes through it, then you're able to switch over to your sketch layer and from the center just draw a line to all four corners of your box, and you're able to come out with a mathematically correct pyramid. Let me go ahead and grab the blue and red layer and just lower the opacity quite a bit. And you know, it's up to you as to when you want to erase things so that they're transparent or not. The thing is that if you start erasing too much of the transparency of your objects, you can basically screw yourself over, okay? You can make it so that it's difficult for you to make measurements down the line, because that X, like you drawing out some sort of square and then drawing out an X in order to find the center of that square, this is part of the process of measuring things. You're not going to be using some sort of software related measuring tool. When you're drawing perspective, you're going to be drawing a lot of X's.
Drawing in perspective is like being a blind man, but you're able to use X's, little intersections of lines, in order to determine what's there, kind of like your sonar.
And that's kind of cool. So the next thing that I kind of want to talk about is that depth perception does not exist inside of perspective. Let me go ahead and show you what I mean. Let me go ahead and draw out a box out here. Okay, so this box that I just drew out, it looks as though it's resting on the ground. It looks like it's resting on the same plane as this pyramid that I drew out. And ultimately, it very well could be. However, let me do something real quick. I'm just going to use this line that I drew on this box, okay? And I'm actually going to make it a little bit longer on the top and significantly longer on the bottom, okay? And then I'm going to use that in order to draw out another face to a big box, okay? And I'm just going to carry these corners over towards the vanishing point. Okay, so now that we've done that, let me go ahead and use my sketch layer in order to just draw out all of this in a way that will illustrate my point, that depth perception does not exist inside of perspective. Okay, let me go ahead and deactivate my red and blue lines. Okay, so here you can see that even though I drew this same line for both of these boxes, that line represents basically one of the edges to both of these boxes, and one of these two boxes right here is behind the other box. So depth perception doesn't exist when you're drawing in perspective. So if I draw a line right here, that line could be really far away or it could be really close to us. It all depends on what we put in front of it and what goes behind it. Not only that, but now this box right here no longer looks like it's resting on the ground. Now this box right here is what's looking like it's resting on the ground. Kind of interesting how that works out. So what you're supposed to gather from that is
context is everything.
Okay, so if I were to draw a person standing next to this pyramid and he's standing about this tall, that pyramid doesn't look really that big, okay? But if I were to draw out a person about this big standing next to the pyramid, it looks significantly larger. In fact, everything inside of the composition looks much larger, okay? Context is everything when you're drawing in perspective. So let's go ahead and just erase everything that I've been doing here really quick here. And the main thing that I want you guys to practice inside of this video is a series of measurement techniques, okay? So I showed you guys this technique at the beginning of the video and in last video, okay? So let's go ahead and draw out another box, all right? And we're going to use this technique once again, and I'm going to show you a little magic trick for it. And let's go ahead and draw an X on the bottom face of this box. But instead of doing the pyramid thing where we draw a line that goes straight up and down, let's draw it towards the vanishing point from the center, okay? And now let's go ahead and bring it up, straight up, now that it's hit the edge of the box, right here and right here, okay? And let's go ahead and bring it up quite a bit, just a little bit more, okay? And let's do it on both sides. And once we're happy with the specific size, let's go ahead and draw a line that goes towards the vanishing point. Okay, excellent. Now that we've done that, we actually have the framework in order to draw out a house. Let me show you what I mean. Let's go ahead and draw this upper line right here a little bit longer on both sides, okay? Let's go ahead and extend it out here and extend it out here just a bit, all right? And let's go ahead and draw a line that goes right here and misses the edge, this corner. Okay, let's make it so that it goes just a little bit beyond. Let's draw this as a diagonal sort of rectangle, okay? And let's go ahead and get this rectangle and draw some lines towards the vanishing point. And there are some really technical ways of finding out this perfect angle and having a vanishing point or something along those lines in order to help you draw out these angles properly as they go off towards the vanishing point. But I really haven't needed to use them, so it's not really quite as important. So I'm just going to go ahead and draw out an angle right here, and then draw another angle going like that. And I'm going to erase the excess that I don't need. Alright, and now I'm going to draw out another diagonal rectangle right here and carry it on towards the vanishing point. Now if I pull out my sketch layer, I'm able to, you have to think about every face to every object, okay? So comes a point where there's this overlap, where there's this intersection of this red line and this blue line. Okay, now if we overlap this line with that and draw a line, a really thin line right here, it makes the bottom of this rooftop just a little bit visible. The bottom face of this rooftop, it's visible now. And so now we can kind of just clean up this roof. Usually there's like a little bit of the very top of the roof that does something like that. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side with this very top face of this diagonal box that we've created. And now we have this overlap right here. Overlap is good in perspective. Overlap is what makes the 3D effect. It's very good for a drawing with perspective. It makes the image harder to draw, but if you're able to pull it off, which you need to be, then it makes your image a lot more convincing. Okay, excellent. So now we have the very beginnings of a house. And if I really wanted to, I could kind of continue here. I could draw out another rectangle right here, draw it out towards the vanishing point. Let's go ahead and just draw a diagonal line on the front face of this rectangle and then draw it out towards the vanishing point, and then go ahead and draw a line that goes straight up and down. Just basically kind of trace this shape out a bit that we've drawn in red, and then we kind of have the makings of a chimney, which is really helpful. So now we can kind of erase some of this garbage that's going on here. That makes it transparent. Alright, but the thing is like when you're drawing a rooftop, usually there's some sort of overhang. So if we draw a horizontal line and then a line that goes off towards the vanishing point, we kind of have this idea as to how an overhang would go. So if we kind of draw the bottom face to a box here that kind of fits this a little bit and is just a little bit bigger than this upper red rectangle right here within this space. If we draw it just a little bit bigger, then we're able to kind of construct the other faces to this big rectangle on top. And I feel like this overhang is just a little bit too big here. So let me go ahead and just erase some of this and adjust it a little bit. And most of the adjustments can be done, at least in my situation, because my lines are so thick. And so the eraser can actually do most of the corrections. Alright?
At least in some situations.
And so now I have a rectangle on this top face here, and I'm liking it quite a bit. So now I can go ahead and just kind of use my sketch layer in order to draw out some sort of capstone of some sort, and bring it on down towards the vanishing point, and there we have it. Okay, so now we have a pretty convincing rooftop. And if we really wanted to, we can even start drawing out things like stone masonry on here. We can draw some really interesting looking shapes that kind of wrap around this object here. Alright, and now we have a rooftop that looks like it's made out of stone masonry. Kind of cool. And, you know, we can kind of do something similar here. Let me do something similar to what I did with the capstone here. Let me pull out blue and draw something that I just call them chicken scratches, basically. Draw out a little chicken scratch here, and that gives me an idea as to how it would have to be shaped. So we can kind of do something like that, and this can give us, well, one second here. I want to change the angle here. Okay, that'll look good. And bring this line, this blue line, this new blue line, straight up. And now I have kind of like a pillar going on here. Let me drag this on out towards the vanishing point a bit, and then drag this up. Okay, so that's pretty cool. Let me pull out my sketch layer and just kind of draw in what was sketched. Let's erase the lines that we don't need first, because they're kind of getting in my way. Okay, excellent. So now, if I wanted to, I could go ahead and have some stonemasonry going on right here as well. And all of these lines with the stonemasonry, they're all going towards either my purple horizontal lines, my green vertical lines, or my blue vanishing point lines. I'm using those throughout the entire process. And I'm doing this all freehand as well. So anyone that tells you, oh, you have to have a ruler, yeah, you know, a ruler might be able to help you out with linear perspective, but you can freehand perspective. There are a lot of people that set these rules as if they're in stone, and you know, they're not as strict. Just as long as you are able to make a convincing looking image, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. And it helps if you actually go around town and actually study what does stonemasonry look like? What does brickwork look like in contrast to that? What are some patterns that I can study? Like, is there some sort of pattern that brickwork or blockwork happens to do, or stonemasonry even? Like, there is a difference. People oftentimes mistake tile work for stonemasonry, and you tell a stonemason that you really like their tile work. I'm not joking here. You will piss them off. To some extent, they'll correct you pretty quickly and say it's stonework. You go over to a bricklayer and you say, oh man, you have some really good block, or you got some really good tile, or you got some really good stonework. They're going to correct you pretty quickly, because those are the wrong terms to be used. And sometimes knowing the right terms kind of helps you out in the artistic process. Just, you know, maybe talk to a construction worker, see what you can learn from them, just about their profession, or about can you learn something about how to draw what that guy does better, because you actually bothered to have a conversation with that guy. And you can even tell him, hey, look, I'm an artist, and I would like to be able to draw this stuff a little bit better. What are some things that I can observe that can make me learn how to draw this specific thing better? Okay, so we got one pillar or column. It's actually a column in proper terminology. Finished here. All right, well, let's add other columns. Now I could go ahead and just eyeball how another column should be, but the thing is if I draw that column thicker, it'll look bad. It'll look really bad. So let me go ahead and create another layer here and call it purple, and let's go ahead and add a gradient map to it. Change this left color to purple, and then parent it to purple, okay? And I want you to grab this line right here, and I want you to just extend it towards the vanishing point, okay? And this is just to make sure that the proportions of this next column are the same as this column out here that's in the front here. I want this column to have the same proportions, okay? So now I'm going to have another column over here, so I need to do that. I need to grab this line and drag it towards the horizon. Basically, make it a horizontal line that goes across here. All right, now these lines, these guidelines that are purple, these are what I call guidelines, and there are times when they are planes or just a guideline. It's hard to kind of distinguish the difference between a guideline and a plane, but I'll get into that eventually, okay? Here we can see on this corner, I don't want to just draw a horizontal line and then draw up, okay? I want to go a little bit above here towards the vanishing point, a little bit more, in order to determine this column a little bit better, all right? So I'm going to draw that line out like that, and I might want to kind of flesh out this bottom and draw a line that goes straight up here. And let's go ahead and erase the lines that make this column look transparent. Now everything's great with this so far, but it's missing its front face. We only have one face visible on this back column. So we need to draw a horizontal line, then another vertical one that goes like that. Okay, great. So now, as objects go off towards the vanishing point, they start to actually lose a lot of their cohesion, a lot of their details. This is in real life as well as inside of a drawing. So you don't necessarily have to spend as much time trying to make this one perfect because it's so far away, but you know, you don't want to get so overconfident that you just become really sloppy, that sort of thing. That's not acceptable. Just, oh, you know, there doesn't need to be detail here, and so it just winds up looking like garbage. You don't want that to happen. Okay, so we now have another face to this completed. So now we need to do the same thing over here. So now I just need to draw the front face to this. And this top of it needs to be angled and a little bit in front of us because it's layered on top in front of what I currently have there. So let me go ahead and erase what's making this box look transparent. Okay? Now, once again, we only have one face drawn out on this. So now we need to get the face that's going towards the vanishing point. And I'm not really liking that. I think this line just needs to be straightened out a little bit at the bottom. I think I accidentally curved it. And it's fine if you have to adjust a few things that you drew out earlier, just a little bit. Okay, and now let's go ahead and draw out the stone masonry to this thing. Okay, cool. All right. So now we have that accomplished. Okay, so now, you know, these purple lines, we don't need them anymore. So let's go ahead and erase those purple lines. Maybe there is a staircase here. Okay, let's go ahead and use purple to draw out a staircase. So just like how I said in the last video, context is pretty important. So let's go ahead and draw a line straight from this corner, okay? From the vanishing point, okay? So we use the vanishing point here at that corner, and then we use the vanishing point at the same corner once again in a different location. And we draw a horizontal line, and now we have the bottom face to a box. Just like how we had when we drew out the road in the last video, okay? I'm assuming that you've seen these videos in order, and it's important that you've seen these videos in order, okay? So now I'm going to go ahead and just draw out some lines from every corner of this box going up. That looks about high enough. Let me go ahead and draw out a line that goes towards the vanishing point, a horizontal line, another line that goes towards the vanishing point, and then another horizontal line. And let me go ahead and erase any excess here. That's looking pretty good. Now, just like how we constructed this X right here to find center and gone all the way up in order for us to find the center of the roof right here, we're going to do something kind of similar, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to just go ahead and segment a portion of this porch off, okay? We're going to consider it to be a little bit different than the rest of it. And what we're going to do is we're going to create another layer, and I'm going to call this one green, and I'm going to create a gradient map, and I'm going to change this color here to being green, and then get it parented with the green layer. And so this allows me to draw in green, which is really, really useful. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw an X right here, and that gives me halfway. All right, and so I'm going to draw a horizontal line that goes right through halfway. I'm also going to draw a line that goes right through the center going vertical. All right, and I'm going to draw an X through this portion here, and I'm going to draw another horizontal line. And I'm going to do the same thing over here as well. I'm going to draw an X right here and draw another horizontal line going across here. All right, and then what I'm going to do is right where it intersects right here and here, I'm going to draw a vertical line, and then right here and here there's an intersection. I'm going to draw a vertical line right there. So what does this give us? That's a good question. Why would I do this? What's the point of that? Let me go ahead and drag this green layer underneath my purple layer. Okay, let me grab the purple layer, and now that I have these measurements, I'm able to determine, and it seems like this was measured just a little bit off. I feel like this horizontal line should have been a little bit taller. So what I'm able to do is I'm able to just draw out a staircase that's been measured with at least some degree of accuracy. All right, and this is really helpful so that when I go to my sketch layer, I can now erase the stuff that I don't need, and I can just go ahead and draw this front face with the sketch layer. Alright, now let me grab my purple and green layers and lower their opacity. Alright, now let me grab my sketch layer, pull out my brush, and I'm just going to draw a line that goes towards the vanishing point right here on the bottom, and then another line that goes towards the vanishing point on the top, and just go ahead and do that. All right, and let's do that again for the back of that particular stair step, and let's draw a horizontal line through here and get this line that goes towards the vanishing point to intersect with it, this intersection right here. Alright, so let's go ahead and pull up a line, and then draw this line towards the vanishing point, draw a horizontal line in the back, and then draw a line that goes towards the vanishing point, and let's draw a line going up, and then use this top corner of this step towards the vanishing point, and draw a horizontal line, and in the back of the step, I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing, use the vanishing point, and something's not working out. Something's really not working out, because if I go like this, and I draw my line here, it's not going to be the same, it's not going to share the same line here. So I made a mistake, so I need to backtrack a little bit, okay? And this is normal. If it doesn't look right, it doesn't look right. You have to backtrack. So with this purple layer, I'm going to draw the back face of this box here, okay? And I'm going to do the exact same measurements that I did earlier, okay? And you know what? I don't necessarily need all of these purple lines here anymore. At least for me, I don't. If you need them, sure, go ahead. It may complicate the situation a little bit, but whatever helps you. All right, so now I'm just going to draw out a box for this back face of this staircase here. No one ever said that a staircase is easy, okay? So I'm going to draw an X, draw a line that goes right through the center, straight up and down, and then once again a line that goes right through the center horizontally. Draw an X here and an X here, and draw a horizontal line going through both of them and a vertical line that goes through both of them. Okay, excellent. So this gives us the blueprint that we need in order to draw out everything just fine. Sometimes this step isn't necessary, primarily because if you're using a ruler or perspective guides that are software ready and stuff like that, some of this stuff you won't have to do, but I'm drawing this by hand, freehand and everything, and I just tend to like the way it looks and feels when I draw things by hand. It just looks really nice. So I'm able to kind of use this as a guide here. Let me just show you right there. See? So all I need to do is just match the corners as they go towards the vanishing point. Okay, so now this top is matching. It's matching this top line. It's matching up perfectly, so the geometry isn't going all wonky, okay? The geometry is important. You can't draw in perspective if you're not going to be nitpicky with the geometry. I'm not joking. It's essential that you get your geometry right, okay? And so let's go ahead and just do that. Let's go ahead and decide that the door is about that tall, okay? So that's pretty cool. I feel like there should be something here. I feel like there should be something like, I should draw a box here, and if I were to just kind of draw out this edge, this corner right here towards the vanishing point, then draw part of a box, just an L shape, makes it seem like there's a storage area underneath this porch. And if I really wanted to, I could go ahead and modify this a bit and kind of put capstones on the top of each one of these steps. And I can even go ahead and do stonemasonry on each one of these steps as well. It all depends on just how much time you want to spend on the image. Okay, so that's kind of cool. Maybe there's some sort of vent right here for the attic. That's kind of cool. And let's go ahead and make a window over here, but let's make it about so that it's not taller than the door. That doesn't happen very often, where a window is taller than the door. And we would see, since we are below the vanishing point, we would see some of this bottom face, or some of this top face to this windowsill. So I'm just going to go ahead and kind of imply that with a thicker line, and imply a thicker line right here, so that it looks like there's a little bit of that face visible. In fact, we might want to do that a little bit over here as well, on the door and on this top face of the door, maybe even on the top face of this window. Alright, and let's go ahead and finish off this window a little bit. Okay, so that's cool. So now let me use the purple. Now if I were to draw out a big square right here, and I go ahead and draw an X right through here, I have center right there. So I can go ahead and plot my sketch layer and just kind of eyeball a little bit here and have 2 windows on either side of center. And they're properly measured and everything. So things just look pretty well executed. Now I don't want to jump too far into measurements, but in this video I just wanted to kind of focus on talking about, okay, I've taught you the bare minimum of how to measure things. What can you do with that? What can you do with what I've already taught you so far? And this is it. You can start actually drawing houses already with what I've taught you, with the squares, with drawing an X and everything. And you might not have even realized it. And that's fine if you didn't. It's fine. Let me go ahead and just finish off this window. Okay, so by the end of the video, you should be able to draw a house that looks like that. I hope this video was helpful for you. I really hope that this is sinking in. I'm trying to make this video series as much like training wheels as humanly possible. Because I've tried a bunch of different sorts of attempts at this, and I'm trying to listen to the feedback, and this is my new approach at teaching perspective, and I'm hoping that it's helping. Anyways, guys, that pretty much concludes it for this video. If you guys enjoyed it, please feel free to like, share, and subscribe, and if you guys would like to get more notifications from me, feel free to click on the bell, or go ahead and follow me on Twitter. In the upper right corner of the screen right now, there is a picture of my mascot. That leads to my Patreon. If you'd like to support my channel, it would be much appreciated. If you'd like to see more of my content, feel free to click on anything that's appearing on the screen right now. Thank you very much for your time.